What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Slam Sessions live right here on YouTube. As usual, I'm your host, Albert Albanese. As if I introduce myself every time, and I think to myself, as if anybody else is gonna fucking introduce themselves as being the host of this thing. I don't know. Like sometimes I find it funny. Of like the habits you fall into when you become a content creator, and this is one of those that I fall into. Mohammed, how are you, buddy? Salam. It's good to see you. So yeah, that's just one of those things that I listen. I don't know if Mohammed, please, let me know what you have to get off your chest. I have something very specific that I do want to talk about today. As well, once we kind of get a lot more people into this stream. Unfortunately, I don't have a whole bunch of time to discuss this stuff, so we'll get off the ground running. We'll hit the ground running with whatever you want to talk about, Mohammed, and then once we get a couple people in here, I want to talk about something in particular. Inigo Montoya, what's going on, buddy? So Mohammed, you said you're sick and tired of the blood money argument, the one that was brought up every time the Saudi show comes. Mohammed, you and me both. I'm sick of it too. I don't understand what the perception is now. Is that, if anybody does business in Saudi Arabia, all of a sudden they're taking blood money? It doesn't make any sense. There are plenty of giant, mega, companies that do business in Saudi Arabia. It's stupid. It's consistently brought up as being like this whole like gotcha moment by people. And it's not even it's not even the case, they're Saudi Arabia. Look, I can't speak. I'm not going to speak about politics. I've said this on Dave's streams. I said it on these streams. I'm not going to speak about politics because that just leads to a lot of contentment. And that's not something I want to, disassociate people from this podcast or from this stream or from this, what's it called? This channel. I don't really want to start bringing up politics. But what I will say real quick is the blood money argument is stupid. It doesn't make any sense. There's no reason to continually harp on it. As much as, we're seeing Saudi Arabia is trying to become a little bit more progressive. Is that going to happen overnight? No. Could it ever happen in our lifetime? Maybe not. But does it look like that, women are being treated better over there and everything? Yes. Is that a direct correlation with the WWE coming over there? Maybe, maybe not. But women at least have other people to look up to now. And I don't see the issue. If they ran, WCW ran a show in North Korea. Nobody was sitting there and yelling at them, back at that time. I should know I was alive at that point. I don't remember that even being like a hot button item. Hey, True Sinister, what's up? So Inigo Montoya, dude, so sorry to hear that. I hope you're doing better, man. That's a scary situation. I'm really hoping that you're okay and that you're recovering and you're getting better soon. True Sinister, please hit me with it because. Guys, I just want to throw this out there. I have about a half an hour to 40 minutes to just do this, and that's it. I have rehearsal for a new play that I'm going to be in. So I can't stay on too long. And there's one thing I very, very, very specifically want to talk about. That post talking about how WWE is supposedly signing too many people and the roster being bloated. Look, you know what, True Sinister, I'm glad you brought that up because this is something I kind of want to I wanted to talk about. Okay, so I have been heavily critical of AEW and their signing of free agent talents. Thank you, Mohammed. So the thing about AEW is that it seems that there was a specific way that AEW was featuring these talents that they were bringing in. They would come in like a house of fire. They'd be important for a month, maybe two, and then all of a sudden they wouldn't be important anymore. And then they'd be relegated to Wrestling on Dark. So far, everybody that Triple H has brought in seems to have a spot. Now, this bleeds into another thing, True Sinister. A lot of people are talking about the moves that Triple H has made so far since he's been in charge of WWE. And a lot of people have been talking about how, oh, here he is, these are all the negative things that has happened. Highlight some negatives about since Triple H took over. Yet when AEW started, it was, they're not even a year old yet. How are you going to critique them? Give them some time. How come Triple H doesn't get that same satisfaction? How come it's automatically Triple H gets thrust into a role of being head of creative, something that he hasn't been doing? 2, he gets thrust into a position after he just comes back from having a heart attack and having heart problems. 3, he takes over the entire company. How come it's not, let's wait and see, it's, let's talk about all the bad things? It's bullshit. And that's really what it boils down to. Guys, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not in a good mood today. Because for other things. The thing that I want to talk about in particular, wrestling fans have actually gotten me so enraged that I decided that I had to do the stream. And we're going to get to that in a couple of minutes. So I'm just going to let you guys know, I'm probably going to be cursing up a storm here. I'm not going to be a happy person here because I'm frustrated. See, Inigo, that's the thing. A lot of people are talking about that too. And that's a great thing to bring up. The factions. A lot of people are like, oh, now everybody said they hated factions in AEW. Now they love them in WWE. No. Hey, Base Up, what's up, man? How are you? I'm doing all right. I'm hanging in there as good as I can. But no, that's not the case. The thing is that those factions seem to just be thrown together in AEW, a lot of them. And it's, one of those things where everybody seemed to be a part of something. And, I understand Tony Khan doing that to try to get more people on TV, and that's fine. But it got to be too much. It's to a point where almost everybody in AEW is in some semblance of a faction. And after a while, it's like, damn, how many people are going to be, here in some sort of a faction? I don't mind WWE forming some new factions because they haven't had, they've had 4 in, the past 15 years. It's okay that he's doing this now. The hope is that they can build people and do it right, but they don't overdo it. After this Wyatt family, thing that they have going on now with Bray, if that is indeed a faction, this should be the last one in WWE for a very long period of time, unless they're going to start disbanding some of these other ones, because there are going to getting to be too many. And I don't like that everyone's got to be, packaged into a neat little box and being like, okay, boom, this is where this is where you live now. You guys are all together. I don't need that. I think right now, like I said, I think it's okay for right now, but I think if he does any more, it's going to be overdoing it. He's getting to that point already. See, Base Up, the thing is that, yeah, right, exactly. The New Japan style of booking. Everyone's in a faction. I hate that. If you're going to be in a faction, you should be in a faction. There should be a reason why you're in the faction. As a matter of fact, the one thing I do have to say is, as much as I dislike AEW and their reliance on factions, the best thing they've ever done was introduce the Firm. Because at least in the Firm, it's like, hey, we're not going to be sticking together all the time. This is just about money, and we're only going to come together when necessary. That's fine for me, because then they can separate these guys and take them off. And it makes sense why, I don't know, if the Gun Club gets attacked, that Lee Moriarty's not running out immediately, because they're not a big giant, stable. They're just here and together for the money. I'm okay with that. But yeah, so like I said, this all bleeds together into this whole, idea that, Triple H, and the idea is Triple H is bringing back too many people. But the thing is that even if Triple H is bringing back people, they all seem to have a purpose. Legato comes up from NXT, and they're immediately feuding with the newly, brought back Hit Row, who, when they came in, were feuding with the Maximum Male Models. So there's a progression there. They're in some sort of a booking. They have the idea. You know what I mean? There's it's a lot, you know what I mean? So I'm sorry, I got, but it should be 2 brand new factions be feuding when they both need to start off strong. See, I don't really, Hit Row's a tag team, so I don't really view them as a faction. I'm okay with, I'm okay with them and Legato having a feud, because they can go back and forth. There's no reason why, what's his name? There's no reason why Hit Row can't lose one, and then, what's their names? Legato lose one, and then, you know what I mean? Back and forth with that. So there's a lot to unpack when it comes to stuff like that. At the end of the day, though, what I honestly believe is that Triple H is bringing people back because he has an idea for them. There's a strategy longer than we're going to bring him in, feud him with this guy for a month, and then see what happens. And that's what it seemed like that AEW was doing. And that's what I didn't like about AEW. WWE's roster has also been ravaged. It's really, been stripped down to almost nothing. And Triple H bringing more people in gives them more people to work with. Listen, I love Kevin Owens. I love everything Kevin Owens does. I actually like him as a babyface. I think he's fun. But like I said, so I don't have a super large amount of time. This is where I really want to get into the crux of everything. I know there's only 4 of you guys in here and whatever, but these things live on in infamy, so whatever. It is what it is. How many of you guys saw the interview that Tony Khan did with Ariel Helwani? See, True Center, so that's the way to do it, Watch me while you're at work. That's definitely the way to do it. Base up. Good luck to you on your job search. Muhammad, I appreciate your honesty. To be completely honest, I didn't either until I started reading a whole bunch of stuff online. So this is where wrestling fans really fucking aggravate me. Tony Khan does an interview. Ariel Helwani, now, I made notes because I was going to literally film a video about this. And I still might. Keep this stream up for a couple of days, film the interview, and maybe take this down if necessary. But whatever. Yeah, based up, the reasoning wasn't, the reasoning wasn't great. I'll give you that. But I think Kevin Owens is versatile enough that, and I think that Triple H is a good, trust Kevin Owens enough to get over as a babyface and to not lose the coolness that he has as a heel. I don't think he has. I think he hasn't compromised anything as a babyface. So for me, that's why I don't think I mind it too much. But so like I said, I made notes. I wrote down a whole bunch of crap about this interview because a lot of people are ripping into Ariel Helwani because Ariel Helwani came on after he did the interview and someone asked him about the AEW and WWE products on his show. And Ariel Helwani was honest. And he said, I think that for the past 6 months, WWE has been the better product to AEW. I think 6 months ago, AEW was far superior. But right now, I think WWE is better. All of a sudden, Ariel Helwani is being lambasted on social media. Degenerate. What's going on, my man? And people are ripping into him because he said Tony Khan was one of the worst interviews he's ever had. He just says a yes and no. I mean, ROH doesn't have a TV program yet, so what would that do? It would just take him. It would just keep him on AEW television just like he is now. If he got moved over there and stayed in AEW. That maybe that could have been something, but we'll see. So anyway, Ariel Helwani said that the Tony Khan interview he did, WG Phil, how are you, man? The Tony Khan interview he did was one of the most difficult interviews he's ever had to do because he asked questions and Tony Khan refused to answer, a lot of them. And then, did the internet melt down because the comments underneath it were ripping him apart, calling him a WWE shill. Meanwhile, the month before, or 2 months prior, he had Triple H on his program, the same exact one, and asked him just as hard-hitting questions as he asked Tony Khan. He asked him about Bray Wyatt. He asked him about Sasha Banks. He asked him about Brock Lesnar walking out. He asked about the transition of power in WWE. Did he ask him straight up about Vince McMahon's sexual exploits? No, because how the fuck does Triple H know about that? Also, I love how everybody really, really forgets about the fact that for the past almost year, Triple H hasn't even been a part of the WWE before he came back because he had a motherfucking heart attack and almost died. But we're not going to bring that into the occasion. It's, how come you didn't ask Triple H about Vince? How come you didn't ask about the Wall Street Journal story? Because it's not fucking Triple H's business to put out there. If Ariel Helwani interviewed Vince McMahon, yes, fine, I'm with you. 100%, That needs to be covered. But Triple H doesn't have the answer for Vince McMahon. He wasn't interviewing Vince. He's interviewing Tony Khan about AEW. Tony Khan now, look, I will be the first to admit, the number one first person to admit, I was okay with the way that Tony Khan deflected everything when he asked about the CM Punk and the Elite backstage brawl situation. I get it. It's a legal issue. He can't speak about it. I'm totally okay with that. And the way he handled that, I think, was super duper professional. He was like, listen, I know you have to ask. I know this is something that everybody wants to talk about. I can't talk about it. I even can understand the point where Tony can get into trouble if he answered Ariel Helwani's question about how did he feel while he was sitting up there and CM Punk was talking about this stuff during the press conference. I totally get where Tony Khan's coming from there. But that doesn't excuse the fact that Tony Khan also refused to answer questions about Cody Rhodes, about MJF and his contract. He refused to answer questions about Bray Wyatt. Did you ever try to contact him? I can't answer that. I can't. I don't want to talk about people that aren't there. Then goes on to tell a story about how he met him at Chris Jericho's party. You didn't want to talk about what? That maybe he turned you down? All you had to do is just say straight up, hey, we had negotiations and we spoke. Or, hey, I never reached out to him. Simple as that. Answer the fucking question. He wouldn't answer about anything about Cody. Would refuse to talk about Cody. He refused to talk about MJF. He refused to talk about Nick Khan after he was the one who told Ariel Helwani in the interview, I've spoken to Nick Khan. Really? And, of course, as an interviewer, Ariel Helwani's sitting there going, well, when did you talk to him? What was this about? I can't say. I can't say. I can't say. I can't say. What the fuck? If everybody's... And then the AEW fans are sitting there yelling about the fact that Tony Khan's not allowed to answer most of these questions. A lot of this shit isn't fucking brand new. I just watched MJF and doing his interview with Sam Roberts. MJF flat out, straight up said, I didn't sign an extension. Tony Khan threw me a shit ton of money to come back here. I am still a free agent in 2024. Ariel Helwani asked him, how did you feel about MJF bringing up that stuff on TV? I don't want to talk about it. Okay. Is what MJF is saying on TV, is that true? I don't want to talk about it. Why the fuck are you being interviewed then? Why did you agree to do this interview? I just don't understand it. And if these were, issues that could have been talked about, because they said they talked before this. They had a conversation before they went live. You're telling me that Tony Khan couldn't just say, listen, you can ask about the stuff with Punk and everything. I'm just going to tell you that I can't answer it. But why wouldn't he just sit there and say, don't ask me about Cody. Don't ask me about MJF. Everything he's ever did during that interview, he's turned into some way to plug the fact that it was AEW's 3-year anniversary show. We get it. But I don't need to hear that 7 times in one interview. Ariel Helwani asked if there was a writing team in AEW. Tony Khan, his answer was, well, I provide an outline. Then went off on a 2.5-minute tangent about how Warner Media gave them extra time on TBS and on TNT for the next the 3-year anniversary show. What did that have to do with the question? The man sat there and refused to, exactly, Muhammad. Why would you do an interview if you're not going to answer anything? On the flip side, now, first of all, the other part of this is that I love how immediately it's a comparison between the interview that Tony Khan and Triple H did. What the fuck does Triple H interview have anything to do with Tony Khan? Because that's everybody's answer online. Please, I am begging you guys, if you have Twitter, go on there, look up the little clip where Ariel Helwani talks about Tony Khan being a pain to interview, and look at the comments underneath it. It's all, how come Triple H didn't get asked about this? What the fuck does that have to do anything about the Tony Khan interview? Whether or not Triple H got asked anything is one thing, but why does that have to do with the fact that Tony Khan refused to answer 15 out of the fucking 20 questions that were asked of him? And he's setting himself up for a lot of this shit, too. I've spoken to Nick Khan before. Oh, when did you speak to Nick Khan? I can't tell you. When did you guys talk about? I can't tell you. I've spoken to Triple H and Stephanie before. Have you talked to them recently? No. When was the last time you talked to them? It's been a while. What? Look, that's probably not going to happen. I hope that, look, at this point, I hope Warner Discovery, I wish the merger never went through because I think it's been a nightmare for everybody involved. And here's the thing. I know that this really seems like I'm shitting on like AEW as a whole and stuff like that. I don't want AEW to go out of business. I want them to be around. I like AEW. See, Inigo, that's another thing. Like, sometimes he when he does this stuff, he puts his foot in his mouth. Ariel Helwani even flat out asked him. He was like, "Do you ever regret some of the stuff that you put online?" He's like, "Nah." Really? Nothing. You're not going to even admit that maybe you regret calling out Big Swole like you did? No? You don't regret anything you said on the internet? Like, damn, dude, that's ballsy. Normally, I respect that because, he wouldn't give a shit. But Tony comes off as the person who cares about how people care about his company. True Sinister, I completely agree. I think that if you saw almost any other company, and anybody else would have found them, I think they would have been fine. The one thing that, and that's a big thing, it's a TV deal. If they had the resources in the TV deal, yeah, sure. I think any other company, especially at the time 3 years ago when AEW launched, with WWE being in the absolute toilet, some of the lowest rated shows that they were ever having, yeah, anybody else would have been a natural fit for competition, and AEW filled that void, and good on them. And I'm glad that they did, because they've given me, over the past 3 years, some amazing moments. I had a blast a couple of weeks ago watching the pay-per-view when a couple of my friends came over here. I had fun watching the show. I watch Dynamite every week. I like AEW. I don't like a lot of what Tony Khan does and a lot of the booking situations, but how many times have I come on this channel and on Dave's channel and told you guys the same thing about WWE? This isn't anything new. I'm not breaking any fucking news. This isn't like, me like being a shill one way or whatever. It's the same thing. I can sit there and critique and criticize both companies while still being a fan of both companies. It's allowed. As a matter of fact, it should be wanted. But these fans, all they want to do is, bam, just throw a fucking line right in the sand, draw it, and be like, if you cross this, you're now siding with the enemy. There is no enemy. You know what the enemy is? The enemy is these dumbass wrestling fans who are going to drive people away from watching some of these programs because they're so fucking mad at the other wrestling fans. They're like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm just not going to watch AEW anymore because these fans are such spoiled, asinine bitches that no matter what Tony Khan does or says, they're just going to, sniff his jock and have his back. No matter what they do, I don't want to watch this shit. And there are definitely 100% the same assholes on the WWE side who are siding with Vince. Even while he's going through a friggin' sex scandal, Vince didn't do anything wrong. Dude, he had sex with his employees. That's always wrong. There's never anything right about an employer having sex with his employee. When you're both employees in this and on the same level, and you don't have any control over the other, then fine. You are more than welcome to fuck as much as you often would like. That is so great. Have the most sex. Enjoy yourselves. I don't care what you do with your personal lives. If you're whores and you love to sleep around and you're like man sluts or whatever the hell the proper terms are going to be for each side. If you're both very promiscuous, knock yourself out. But when you're the boss, you can't go fucking your employees. You just can't. Vince is wrong. There's just no way around that. And if AEW fans are mad about those WWE fans defending them, I get it. Because it's fucking ridiculous. Yeah, basically that's a good call about WCW. Look, I like Jericho a lot, but Jericho also he's a homer for whatever company he's in. If he was in WWE, he'd talk about how the only reason why Cody Rhodes ever got over in AEW is because they knew him from WWE. Jericho knows what he's doing. Jericho doesn't believe 75% of the shit that even comes out of his own mouth. He's just doing it to promote his own show. And I respect that because at least Jericho puts it out there like that. We've known it the entire time. Like Tony Khan believes everything that comes out of his mouth. That's the problem. And see, true sinister, most of the time when you have someone who is breaking the rules, that's what happens. Everybody, gets hurt. To be fair, it's not like Vince was sleeping with 20 or younger talent in OVW. It was mostly office people over 40. Sure, WG Phil, sure. I understand that, but even still, you're the owner of the company. Vince can go out, and even right now, what is he, almost 80? I'm sure he can go out to any place in the world and probably get laid. It's not like Vince could struggle to get laid. I don't think he had to buy these women off just to get himself played with. There are an infinite amount of women, an infinite amount of towns that Vince on the road could have slept with if he wanted to. Now, maybe it was the convenience that, some of these women were around him all the time and it made it easier on him. Maybe. I don't know. But, it is what it is. At the end of the day, it's still not right. But it's also not right. Drew Sinister, I'm very happy. Dave actually and I talked a couple of weeks ago and he told me that was the case. But yeah, look, but at that same point, I mean, apparently Punk, according to Muhammad, Punk said that. But look, if you're an employer, you shouldn't be sleeping with your employees. It's as simple as that. But that also doesn't excuse Tony Khan for going on and doing an interview and not answering 10 questions. Like, it doesn't, these things aren't correlated. I don't care if Ariel Helwani didn't ask Triple H the hardest hitting questions in the world, which, by the way, I want to throw out there, and I know I brought this up before, but I just want to reiterate. This was a month and a half ago. This was right after Sasha and Naomi walked out. Triple H answered a question about Sasha Banks. This was almost, close to a year, of Bray Wyatt being fired, and then rumors coming on that Bray might be brought back. Triple H answered the question about Bray Wyatt. This was right after Vince left. And, what's it called? Right after Vince left and Brock walked out, and he answered a question about Brock Lesnar. He asked about the transition of power and how it came about. And Triple H did his best diplomatic way to talk about that and just, mention, and he was smart. He said, well, Vince retired, which is the truth. No matter how you want to slice it, doesn't matter why during the interview, it doesn't matter why you retired. And it doesn't, and all these things about the Wall Street Journal and all this other shit doesn't have anything to do with Triple H. So he's not going to be asked those fucking questions. Because why would he? Because he doesn't have the answers for them. But Tony Khan is the owner of AEW. And Ariel Helwani did his best to ensure, and he harped on a couple of them. The first couple of ones he let go. The first one was MJF, and he was like, oh, okay, you can't talk about that. I get it. I understand. Then he asked about the writing team. He goes off on these tangent. See, base up yes and no. It's not about Stephanie either. Those questions are best suited for Vince. It was Vince's dick that was in these women. That's the reason why he retired, right? That's who you ask. Stephanie doesn't know what Vince does with his dick. That's her dad. These questions are only make sense to be asked to Vince McMahon. And Vince McMahon does not work for WWE anymore. Sorry about that, Muhammad, but it's true. It's just this, and I agree. Tony Khan is, and look, there's an internal investigation. Whatever the findings are, they're the findings. But Kenny Omega not being on that show in Toronto last night was a fucking huge, big, giant misstep. He's a god in Canada, especially to AEW fans. So you're not going to put him on the first AEW show in Canada? Come on. Inigo, I don't think he's stepping back. He said he was only going to be around for another year. He cut a promo last year, actually in Toronto, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of weeks ago. And he said he's going to step back probably in about a year. So he's got a year left. So I don't think he's taking that much time off, and I'm assuming that maybe he's working that schedule around his WWE schedule. That's at least what I think. I haven't seen anywhere that he's definitely taking time off. It's degenerate. He's not the first one. A lot of people want to. And to be honest with you, look, I like CM Punk. I'll be the first person to say it. I think we had this conversation about the whole situation, after it happened. I like Punk. I do. I like Punk more than I like the Elite, especially in the world of pro wrestling. I've always been a big CM Punk fan. He acted unprofessional. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He acted unprofessional. And if I was the owner of that company, I would not let CM Punk back into AEW. That's just me. Tony Khan can do whatever he wants, but as good as Punk was for AEW, maybe it's best that they just go their separate ways at this time. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that he talked about that I didn't cover. But that's it. So mostly look, at the end of the day, Tony Khan's allowed to do what Tony Khan wants to do. He did that interview. Like I said, it really WG Phil, I did see that. Punk apparently has an office job as well. Whatever the case is, I don't know what that means. I don't know if he's still in that capacity. I'm assuming not, being that the Elite aren't either. But yeah, I mean, how are you okay with Punk coming back and trying to tell people what to do after he sat there and said, none of these motherfuckers want to listen? But a lot of people are kind of fake with it. They were kissing his ass, defending him last year, but this whole media scrum incident, they just pretty much joined the other side. Look, that's a big thing. So read the article. Once his contract is done, he's retiring. Oh, okay. Once his contract is done. Okay. Awesome, Nigo. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. But that's a big thing, Degenerate. Like, I was like, I'm not going to sit there and say I was on Punk's side throughout the whole thing. I don't agree with what he did with Hangman. AEW, and here's the big thing, and I said this a couple of weeks ago. Degenerate, that's you. If that's what you feel, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But my thing is that my thought process is this, and I'm gonna get through this really quick because, like I said, I have to leave in a little bit. AEW not having promos or bullet points or scripts that are promos comes back and bites them in the ass more often than not, because there's now been 2 fights backstage that have happened that what's it called? That have come about because of promos. Eddie Kingston being called fat by Sammy Guevara, and now this whole thing with Punk. That was the start of it. And you're going to get to a point now where so I'm with you there. I like Shane. I mean, he's not my favorite thing in the world, but I don't dislike him. But anyway, so that's a big issue. But now that's the case, right? So now they do this whole thing, right? If Punk is goes to the back and talks to whoever he needs to talk to and talks to Adam Page and is like, don't bring that shit up, fine. I guess maybe they could have squashed the beef there. But why is it that this was an issue when Adam Page brought it up, but it wasn't an issue when MJF or Eddie Kingston brought it up in both of those feuds? Why is Punk's stance so harsh against Adam Page? Is it because we've heard that Punk has said that he tried to give Adam Page some advice and Page basically walked away from him? Oh, so you felt slighted by him. You got put into a program with him. He's the guy who's going to put you over, but he said something that hurt your little feelings. So now we have to, ruin all of AEW just because your feelings got hurt. That's the way that I'm taking it. What other way is there to do it? And then to call out, to leave after getting hurt, come back, call out Adam Page. Call him out on television when he can't come out and answer and defend himself. Bullshit. And then, even after all that is done, to throw your bosses under the bus while you're sitting next to the owner of the company. To sit there and have the balls to say, man, these young kids don't want to listen to the old timers. Says the guy who dropped the fucking pipe bomb. The literal person that CM Punk has hated when he was in WWE is the exact person he became. And it's so ironic that nobody sees it. Punk is mad. So mad that these young guys don't want to listen to him. When all he wanted to do was say, I know better than everybody else. Put me at the top and I'll get you guys to the promised land. Adam Page feels the same way, and he's the villain now? That's exactly what you did 10 years ago. How are you not putting that into perspective? And Muhammad, that's my point. It is biting him in the ass. And true sister, you're 100% right. I'm with you there. I can't agree with you, Degenerate, about the Shane thing. I don't know what would happen if Shane was in control right now. I like that Triple H is in control of creative because I like Black and Gold NXT. And a lot of that was, the brainchild of Triple H. And I think Triple H will bring in the right guys to meld this sports entertainment / pro wrestling thing. Hey, listen, Inigo, I think everybody in the world is going to start trolling that they're going to be a member of this whole thing. We don't even have any confirmation that this is actually even going to be a faction either. It's because those people kind of do talking points during the media scrum. It's basically a Jim Cornette. Well, that's the thing, Degenerate. The thing is that, everybody is like a Jim Cornette to a point. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's got this giant personality and stuff. But it just depends about what they're ranting about. And if they believe it, then it's fine. But if it's the opposite, then it's the worst thing ever. The Train! What's going on, man? Long time no see. WG Phil, probably the all-white WrestleMania gear or the most recent one. Man, the one that he wore at the pay-per-view was so cool. I love that he's choosing different colors and stuff to put into his gear, too. Adam Page and the other wrestlers kind of do that to the old-timers. It's not just Punk. Like I said, it's just basically a bunch of penny battles of the new age. Yeah, and that's always going to be it, Degenerate. There's, look, and I'm the first person to say, look, I'm 36. I'm probably more on the old guard. I'm actually probably more on the side of CM Punk in a lot of what he's saying because I dislike a lot of this new age wrestling. I've said this 100 times. I refuse to back down from it. Oh, crap. Hold on. Give me one quick second, guys. I'm sorry. Actually, you can still hear me. I hate this new style of wrestling. I really do. I don't like this kick, punch, no sell, everybody falls down shit. Pisses me off. Absolutely aggravates me. It's stupid. Well, I just turned 37, Muhammad, so sorry. Just had to confirm about like I said, I have to go in a couple minutes actually because I got to get going to go to my rehearsal for my play. But yeah, yeah, exactly. WG Phil, and the work shoot comes back to bite him in the ass, right? After all these years, the thing that he made famous. I don't like this trend of new outrage over old issues. True Sinister, I'm with you. Muhammad, if you have a knot in your shoulder, I think the best thing you could probably do is go to somebody who knows how to, like get that out. Like maybe like like some sort of like a massage, like or a chiropractor or something like that. I have a lot of shoulder issues. I just don't take care of myself. So we'll stream again. WG Phil, yeah, I will. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you guys saw, but oh, okay, so we're right in that same age range, Inigo. So I think that's why a lot of I think that's why I think maybe we line up a little bit on things, even if it's not, even if we're not 100% right on everything, or agreeing on everything. I feel like we're in the same realm because we're in that same age group. I wonder if you and Dave understand how young I am. Dave seemed shocked that the first time I saw the Legion of Doom was them squashing the headbangers. True Citizen, look, I'm realizing a lot. Based up, you're not wrong. I'm realizing a lot of new wrestling fans that I've interacted with are very young, and they, I'll sit there and harken back to some older stuff, and they'll look at me like I have like six, like I have six eyes because I have four already. But yeah, a lot of this new generation is coming up, and they have their own views, and maybe they like this whole punch, kick, no sell, wrestling style where everybody jumps on each other and stuff like that. I'm okay with it. Like, listen, I was a big fan of the cruiserweights in '96. I like car crash wrestling, but I don't like it to be my entire show. And a lot of AEW is that. I would like to see less competitive matches on AEW because I don't like that everybody seems to be on the same level. It's 15. Everybody's going to have a 15-minute match unless you're like your Wardlow. That's the only way you can have like a squash. No, some of these guys should absolutely squash people. Yeah, exactly. Slap the leg. There you go. Base up. Yeah, you're right. Look, WrestleMania 3 was, I was young, dude. Like I was like 2 years old, sneaking out of my room, trying to like crawl around so I didn't, I could just like sneak it, and watch it. Like I'm an old head. It is what it is. But we'll see. Look, at the end of the day, wrestling fans are going to be wrestling fans, and not everybody's going to like all the same shit. It's just going to be the way. This is the way it is. Real quick before I go, because I'm going to get going in a couple of minutes. Actually, in a couple of seconds. Base up. You brought up something very earlier that I just want to talk about. How about them motherfucking 3-2 Jets, baby? 2 rookies on killing it in the last game. Sauce Gardner, Brees Hall. Guys are killing it, man. I'm so proud of my Jets. Zach Wilson's not making mistakes. They're doing everything. They're doing everything right. I think they can beat Green Bay this week. I really, honestly believe they can go into Lambeau and beat Green Bay this week. I think that they're on fire. Well, no. Those MILFs seem to be helping Zach Wilson. Let him take all the MILFs that he wants. I'm super proud of them. Even if the Jets end up not making the playoffs or whatever, I'm glad that, for the first, 5 weeks of the season, they've kept me invested. Exactly, Inigo Montoya. Exactly. And yeah, base, I'm happy, man. Like, if your Falcons are doing well, more power to them. Like, I'm glad. When I like to see, everybody's teams do well, except if you're a Patriots fan. Harry Flynn's not here, so I can say that, and he won't get it, but, I'm sure he'll get offended when I say that, but yeah, so I'm glad the Jets are doing well. So I'm actually looking forward to Sunday. It's crazy. But all right, it's 7:15. I got to get going. Guys, it was a blast as always. Thank you for letting me vent to you because I was screaming like to no one about 5 minutes before I got on this stream because I was like, God damn. True Citizen, you're not wrong. And I was right the whole time. But I was just, I was really miserable. I really was. Like, seeing all those comments and stuff like that, it really, like, made me so angry just to see how bad these wrestling fans are now. At the end of the day, I'm glad I have you guys because you guys are sane and normal. And, yeah. If not for you, I don't know what the hell I'd do. But thank you guys so much. Congratulations, Inigo, by the way, that your quarterback is undefeated. But yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. Go check out the last video I posted because it's the first one I posted in a while, if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys soon. Have a great night.